Yes, and we are live. So, hi guys. I hope you're all having a lovely weekend. Today, we're going to have a design session with Victory Brown as OSCA Nairobi. And yeah, we're mainly on open source and we're based in Nairobi. So, a few things to walk through. We're going to have the introduction first and then move on to the talk. Then we'll have questions. Feel free to ask questions on the chat box. And yeah, let's have fun. So, Victory Brown is a user experience designer and an open source contributor. She is a member of the Sustain UX Working Group, a community that's focused on sustaining design across the open source space. She's a design contributor to open source communities like IOSF and LFBH, which is basically open source in design. She's also building a community to mentor female designers. She speaks on user experiences, DEI, and accessibility. So thank you, Victoria Brown, for joining us and welcome.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Me too. We're excited to have you on
Yeah.
board.
So do I go on to introduce myself?
You don't have to. You can basically say a few things about yourself.
Oh, okay. So hi everyone. I'm so excited that you're here to join us today while we talk about contributing to open source as a designer. Having you here means you're actually interested in contributing to open source as a designer, but you're having probably challenges in finding ways to contribute, or you don't know how to contribute, or this is the first time you're hearing about open source and you're interested. So I am Velda. I'll be taking you through, mostly I though, but I'll be taking
Yeah.
you through how to contribute to open source as a designer, and then that's what we're here to do. I'm a member of the Sustain UX working group. It's kind of like a sub working group under Sustain OSS. We talk about ways where we can include open source design or open design into open source. I'm also a contributor to the Linux Foundation Public Health on a project called Herald, and also I do design advocacy and open source advocacy. So I'm really excited to meet you guys.
Yay. Awesome. So yeah, as you begin the session, I'll just be here. So if you need me, you can just holler, you can just call me, but I'll just be here. So let me just add your screen to the stream. And yeah, you can officially start your call.
Okay. Hi everyone again. So today we're talking on contributing to open source as a designer. Well, I'll be looking back and forth because I'm using two screens and I have to share my screen on this one and I have to look at you on this one. So here goes. So yeah, my name is Victor Brown. I'm a user experience designer and open source contributor. I'm a member of the Sustain UX working group and a team of other designers. Female designers are building a community called Design Heart. It's about building a platform where we come together and network and be mentored by other senior UXers who have been in the industry for long. It could also be product designers and every other type of design related role. So you can check us up on Twitter at Design Hard. And so, what to expect in today's session? First, we're going to be trying to break the ground on what design is. That I'm assuming that there are viewers here who probably wants to get started in tech, and you're probably looking at design related roles or career path. And I would to like explain what design is, what you need to know when you're getting into design, either full time, part time, or whatever way you want to contribute to their design. Um, I'll highlight mistakes that junior designers make in terms of designing and also in terms of being part of a team. Then go into the main focus for today, which is what open source is, what is open source. why designers should contribute to open source, what problems designers face in open source, and then I'll introduce the larger body, which is open source design community. It is a design community where designers come together to talk about ways where we can help other designers to contribute to open source to kind of create awareness that, oh yeah, designers want to contribute to open source. Open source is, there are myths that open source is largely developer centered, which to an extent is true in terms of having more programmers that contribute in terms of code than having designers and other technical writers. But the open source space is becoming open and inclusive to all of these developer roles outside code. So you contribute outside of code, you contribute as a tester, test software, write reviews, help with documentation. Open source is just a very large ecosystem that helps you to build yourself in various areas because there's so much to it outside just being contributors of code. So, what is design? I'm sure a lot of us have different ideologies or ideas as to what design is. But for the purpose of this call, I'll be defining design as how things work. How was this designed to work? How is this software designed to work? Is it usable? Is it useful? Prior to this time, we've had a lot of people talk about design being something that is beautiful, visually pleasing to the eyes, which is not a lie. But sometimes we focus more on how things look that we forget how they work as designers. And one of the reasons why things are developed is because they need to be used by people, they need to be used by other people to do other things. So this is what we're talking about in terms of designing how things work. We're not going to exclude the fact that design has a visual aspect. So there has to be a balance between how your design looks and how it works. So as a designer, you take things into consideration, things like accessibility, inclusion, the arrangement of your elements, color choices. This would be a talk for a later session, but I just want to see how to throw light on these areas of design. And on to the next part. As a junior designer, there are things, or as someone who wants to consider going into design, there are things that you need to consider before getting into design. Sometimes we can say, "Oh, I know how to draw. I'm very good with colors. I have an eye for design," and then we want to get into design, and then we find out that this is really how it works. And sometimes it could be nerve breaking. It could really be distracting, and sometimes you just want to quit because this was not what I expected. And coming into design, I'm meeting something a whole different environment from what I already knew. So before you get into design, or if you're thinking about getting started in design, these are a few points I want you to know. What are your interests? Now, design is broad. It has a larger audience in terms of their graphics designers, their product designers, their UX researchers every day, because designers are supposed to be problem solvers. So every day we decide on how we would solve a role or a problem in design without burdening other designers. So that's why we have different roles. We have UX writers, we have UX designers, UX researchers, we have interaction designers, we have visual designers, motion designers. There are just so much. So whatever your interest is, you have to go deeper and do research. That brings me to the next point. Whatever you identified what your interests are in terms of design, if you would want to go into product design, if you want to go into the research part of design, if you want to go into design advocacy, whatever aspects you would want to, it is important that you do research on that area, ask questions. The third point is ask questions about the aspects of design you want to get into. Now, to do this, you need to be around people who are already in this career field, or people who are already interested in doing design per se. So you need to ask questions about. You could do that on social media, do that on Discord channels. Just try to find a community that you can be part of. That brings me to the fourth point: find a community and belong to it. A design community. It could be a design community in general. It could be probably a branch of design you want to do. Probably a motion design community, a UX research community, just like that. So you could just find one. There are so many communities online. You could research. There's design hers. The She Code Africa also has aspects where they do design related tasks. There's also the She Designs Africa. There's My Community Design Hers. There are also boot camps that you could be a part of to help you speed the design process. Next, and I think the last one for one of the things to consider is get yourself a mentor. Well, a mentor is really important in terms of sometimes you could take a course online and having feedbacks from people who have hosted the call or who have hosted that session could be quite difficult to get feedback back. So having a mentor, you could go ask for reviews, ask questions, to actually make your process of learning faster and seamless is actually a good idea. So, like I said, one of the things we're doing here at Design House is to give mentorship in terms of design. So you could also be a part of our community. We'll be very excited to have you with us. Next, I would go into mistakes made by junior designers. Most of it is kind of the same, what you should consider before getting into design, but I didn't want to like put everything together. So here it is. I made these mistakes when I started out as a designer, and sometimes I still make the mistakes. I get shy to post my work online, but it helps to get feedback, and feedback helps you to improve on whatever it is you're designing. So, number one mistake that most junior designers make is that most junior designers don't ask questions. I think it's an important aspect of learning when you begin to ask questions. Question trends. Why is this way? I remember when I started out as a designer, I joined a boot camp, and for the when I was in the boot camp, it was really hectic for me to understand because everybody seemed to have gone further than I did, and I was too shy to ask questions because I felt like this was something I was supposed to know already. So asking it would be a dumb question. But you need to know that there are no dumb questions when you're learning. If you can't ask online, Google is always there to help you. You train yourself in the art of Googling. So you need to start Googling, asking questions online. Um, Ask questions in communities that you're part of. Ask your mentor questions. Ask your teacher questions. If you watch a YouTube video, you can leave a question on it. A 60% chance that you will get your reply because people like engagement on their posts. So if you see a post online on Dribble, you could ask this font, what's the name of this font, where can I get this color, what's your gradient? And these questions help you to learn more in such a short period of time. You learn to prioritize. Coming into design, like I said, having so many aspects or branches of design, and designers could get confused. You wanted to start out as a graphic designer, but now someone you know is a UI designer, and now you want to go to UI design because it's interesting. Then again, you want to learn motion, you want to learn animation, you want to learn so many things at once. I would suggest that you learn to prioritize, start from the basics. It's not bad to want to be everything, but sometimes learning everything at once could be quite confusing. It could also slow down your process of learning. So I advise that you learn to prioritize, start from the basics, start from graphics. You move from there's a ladder of design to climb up to the final stage of design. But then you have to move from being a graphics artist, you need to learn UI, you need to learn UX, you need to learn research, how to talk to your audience, you need to learn how to use Illustrator. So prioritize. In each area you decide to learn, you learn the tools for that area. If you're learning graphics, ask for tools that graphic designers use and try to learn how to use them. Use them in terms of reading articles that have been written about them, watching video tutorials, asking people who use this more frequently than you do. So ask questions all the time. Prioritize your learning curve and try to see what works for you. Also, time management. I think these two together, in terms of learning, you are in charge of your growth. So consistency, prioritizing your learning tools or your learning course, also allocating time. Sometimes we're busy, we need to make balance between our social life, our learning, and all that. So time management is important. There are various time management tools that you could use, allocate time and what activities you want to do. It could make your learning faster. Stop learning multiple things at once. I'm a very how like I'm kind of the person that wants to try different things at once, and I've done that, and I've seen that it could lead to some form of challenges or burnout per se, because my head is kind of full. I'm doing so many things at once, so I learned to prioritize by stop doing multiple things at once. I learned this, so when I know I'm done with learning that tool, I move to the next to the next tool, and that's how I've been able to grow over the years. You might think that that's a slow process, but it's more efficient to learn that way. Also, most junior designers don't build a network. We have the excuses of being introverts and not knowing what to say or how to go about it. But it is really important that we build a network of designers, both juniors, senior, people learning with us. It's very important because this network will help you in the long run to connect you to opportunities and also be a learning platform for you. Also, engage in community work. One of the ways designers could get noticed is engaging in community work by engaging with social media accounts, design accounts, leave comments on Figma accounts, try to teach early designers, new designers that are just budding designers that are just starting up in the design role. It is important that I teach them how far you've come, the tools you've learned. You must not have learned all of the things to be a teacher. I feel most of the time learning and teaching is also a faster way to start learning fast. Because when I started designing, I started writing articles, teaching people how to use Figma because that's the tool I use mostly. I had to do that, and it helped me build my network and help me get visibility in the community that I'm part of, and that's also a good way to learn. You make mistakes in public. Also, most junior designers do not like to volunteer. Volunteering is a very good way to be noticed in the community and to get experience. As a junior designer, most times getting a full-time role or a internship can be very hard or can be quite difficult because people want to see what you're doing. They want to see you work real life projects. They want to see you work with community. They want to see you collaborate. And this is really important when you start to volunteer for work, volunteering to help senior researchers or senior designers to do design work. You could have a friend who wants to build a product and you say, oh, I'd like to join you. Can I volunteer to join you to do the research, interview users, to help you design a few screens or help you design the flyer for this product, help you market. And this is really an exciting way to also learn. Next, be open to criticisms. One of the reasons why most people don't post their designs on Behance or on Dribble or their social media page is because they don't want people to tell them, I think this is not right. I feel like this is something you should do better. People don't like to ask questions. People would not want them to ask you a question as a designer. You would not want to be questioned about your choices. But that's also important because if you're going for an interview or you want a job, most times hiring managers will question your design choices. They would ask you, what is your design thinking process? Why did you come up with this solution? Why is this the color? Why is this here? What is this feature? How does your product help? So being open to criticism helps you to learn from also a wider audience. Next and finally, invest in your portfolio. As you learn, conduct interviews, build case studies that could also help you on your portfolio project. Very important aspect of design. Finally, the main reason why we're here, contributing to open source as a designer. What is open source? What is the open source ecosystem? Well, open source projects or the open source ecosystem is typically a collaborative effort where people come together to use source code that is open and free for modification, for use. People could test products and give their kind feedback on how they were able to interact with it. They could raise issues about it and say, I tested your product, this is what I find out, this is the issue, this is where I think you should fix it. And the source code is always developers could modify, you could see something that isn't working right and then try to fix it. So that comes in terms of volunteering, because it's a volunteering platform and we're open to having as many volunteers as possible because the open source ecosystem grows daily. Next, why designers should contribute to open source. Why is it important that designers contribute to open source? They admit that open source is largely developer centered, and because of that, designers tend to shy away contributing to open source. But I'm here to tell you that open source actually does need designers. They actually need designers to contribute, to volunteer, because there's a whole lot to learn, both the open source community and the designer. So number one reason why designers should contribute to open source is in terms of gain experience. It is important that contribute to open source because this is where you gain experience as an early career designer or someone that is just coming into the design field or design role. You want to be a designer, but you're about to apply for jobs, you've not gotten an internship. You could gain experience from contributing to open source projects or communities. Open source projects will help you to build your portfolio. We're talking about gaining real life experience at projects, real life projects as your portfolio, and open source is also a way where you could do this and get real life projects to put in your portfolio. Also, you learn something new. You learn a new tool because most open source projects or communities use only open source tools. So I'm sure most designers know that there are open source design tools that you could use, and the communities that use those open source design tools are open. So they share the links, they share the software for you to download, share tutorials so you could learn how to use this tool. It's important because sometimes you might go to the real world or the real world and then you meet these tools. So open source gives you opportunity to use these tools to contribute. Also gives you opportunity to learn collaboration because you're working in a cross-functional platform with designers, developers, engineers, technical writers. So they need to be back and forth communication. And because open source is online, most communities are online, you get to learn how to work remotely, which is very important because now communities and organizations are going into remote working. So it gives you preparation. You're prepared in terms of you already know how to work with time zones, you already know how to work collaboratively online, and you know how to use these tools like Discord, Slack, and other open source or other collaborative tools like Miro that you could use in your company. Open source helps you to build a network because you get to meet people every day. You talk to meet people whenever you leave a comment and I'm sure someone refers to you or replies to you, someone assigns you to an issue. There needs to be a back and forth communication, and that kind of helps you build a network. Also, open source communities sometimes hold hackathons, meetups, community meetings, which you be a part of, and kind of give your honest opinions to what or ways you could contribute or help to improve this product currently building in this open source community. And then it's important that designers contribute to open source because most open source projects lack good design. Now, this is very, very, how should I say, open or vast in the open source space. Because most projects developers most developers are not very much aware in terms of design. They're not focused on design. They focus more on the code of the product, the development of that software and product. So designers need to contribute to open source because these products will, at the end of the day, be used by people, developers, or designers, or even people who are not familiar with the tech ecosystem might need to use it. And so, making them user centered, giving them very good look, aesthetically pleasing looks, and trying to make it have a very user experience. So people use this product is actually a very good way to contribute to source projects. So as a designer, these are several reasons why you should contribute to. Next, I'll talk about problems facing designers in open source. I know that there are several designers who want to contribute to open source. I've been missed so many times, or how do I contribute to open source? I've been in this open source community for long, and I've not gotten any design issue to fix. I don't know what to do. So I'd like to talk about the problems facing open source designers. So get prepared for what you're coming into. Number one, lack of awareness. Now, this lack of awareness is both on the part of open source communities and designers. Most designers are not aware that they could contribute to open source. They don't know how to go about it. They don't know what open source is. And this is also a big issue. And there are open source advocates out there who are advocating for projects and communities, and they are looking for designers, developers, technical writers to be a part of these communities. Also, the issue of discovering issues, finding problems to fix, design problems to fix in communities. I know I was part of an open source community where most of the design issues were fixed by front end developers, and I kind of understand that sometimes because all a designer needs to do is change that design while the developer develops it. They would not want to go through the process of making a pull request for something a developer could fix. So they have what they call UI engineers. But I believe that having designers part of the team could help in reducing most of these UI issues. You understand? So designers is important, and finding design issues can also be a problem that designers face. Now, the use of technical terms. There are various technical terms associated with open source that sometimes designers find it hard to understand because they are not familiar with these terms. So it gets confusing for them when you start mentioning things like Pull Git, GitHub. Designers know Adobe, Illustrator, CorelDRAW, Figma, and so on and so forth. Most designers are not familiar with open source terms like this. So these terms could sometimes be confusing to designers hoping to contribute to open source. Next, using developer tools. The use of developer tools could also be a problem that designers face open source. Like I said, most designers don't know how to use Git, they don't know how to use help, and sometimes it is very confusing, even for me as a designer. So I tend to stay away from projects or issues where I have to use Git and GitHub. So also there is no integration of design tools to open source software. Now there are several IDEs, integrated developer environments on open source projects like GitHub, both embedded in GitHub, and then there are also several developer tools that are embedded in GitHub, but there are no or just few that designers could use except the project areas. But then if we had a way where designers could design on the GitHub platform and people could contribute or collaborate on that platform without having to leave GitHub and come back to GitHub, something that designers could find easy to use, it would actually be very help us to contribute to. Okay, so now we're going to talk about open source terms. Earlier, I had mentioned that sometimes designers would not want to contribute to open source because of these open terms that are very confusing. So first, I'd like to introduce the most important part because most open source projects are hosted on GitHub platform. So first, what is Git? Git is a free and open source distributed version control system. I know, big terms, but it is designed to handle everything from small to very large projects with speed and efficiency. Now, if you notice, it was designed. It was designed by somebody, by a designer, to handle everything that is being hosted on GitHub or being pushed is hosted on the GitHub. It's hosted on the Git. It's like a cloud platform here. So um, whatever you push through the GitHub is stored in Git. It's a version control system. So next, GitHub is the platform. Let's say is a for-profit company that offers a cloud-based Git repository hosting service. Still big terms. Now, these are the issues with contributing to open source. Remember, I said that Git is a cloud, so it is hosted on GitHub, or GitHub issues are hosted on the Git. So you use the GitHub platform to make pull requests, fix issues, and those issues are being managed or being saved in the Git. Next, pull requests. What are pull requests? Now, for developers, pull requests let you tell us about changes that you've pushed to a branch in a repository on GitHub. Now, you make a pull request where you've made a change. After you finish fixing an issue, you make a pull request. The pull request notify the maintainers of that project that here I made a change to this project. I made this issue. Users no longer see this as a challenge because I used to fix this. So I'm making a pull request, go through it, and then make the pull request. So make the pull request means to fix the issue. So when a request that has been made after carefully reviewing it, then you said to have made your first pull request. Next is fork. Fork is a copy of a repository that you manage. Forks lets you make changes to a project without affecting the original repository. Now, like I said earlier, you have to, I think I should have arranged this area in terms of repo like that. I'll get to it. So, in terms of forking a repository is like a project where it's being hosted on. So where your projects are hosted. So to fork the repository means to make a copy of that repository down to your name. I'm going to show this on GitHub to make it to your name. So whenever you change, it doesn't affect the original repository, not until you make a pull request and it is merged. So this is what it means to fork. It's like kind of collecting, making a copy of that repository. Clone. The git clone command is used to create a copy of a specific repository or branch within a repository. Now, whenever you fork a repository to edit it, you have to clone that particular repository down to your own Git to kind of fix whatever it is in that clone. You know what a clone? A clone is like something that is exactly like the original, but it is not the original. Next, repositories. A repository is the folder inside project. This is repository tracks all changes made to files on your project, build a history over time. If you delete the folder, then you delete your project's history. So sometimes contributing to open source, you need to ask your maintainers so you don't go to delete the original files because it will also be a challenge to whatever projects that you're working on. Next, how can designers contribute to open source? I'm going to be going through what open source is, trying to get you to understand. But when it comes to the main thing, so how can I contribute? Now I'm interested in contributing to open source. How can I go about it? Number one, you could do that by opening an issue. Now, in order to open an issue, you need to have used the software. To use the software by the product, if it's a product that it can be used by everybody, you could do it and then give a comment. I noticed that when I use your project on my mobile, it's not responsive. I noticed that this feature is not clickable. This is here. This is not good. This color is not good. As a designer, you could open design related issues. use the software. Like I said, you have to use the software before you are able to know where these issues are coming from or whatever issue you're about to open. Designer could help to contribute to open source by designing a style guide. As a designer, you know what a style guide is. A style guide is kind of a sheet that designers could use to maintain consistency across all of their designs. So you design a style guide, is the project color, this is the fonts we're going to use, these are the button sizes. So whenever you're not there, other designers that want to contribute or fix something could still go through your style guide as a way to, fix issues, design related issues on that community or project. Also, you could help open source projects by designing logos and icons, brand identity for whatever project that it is that you want to do. These are very exciting ways to contribute to open source. If you ask me, you could go through projects and be like, oh, I noticed that what is currently going on in your community, and I want to design a logo for you. 60% of the time, maintainers would accept it because they want to find a way to make their projects known. If you present a proposal that is very, very catchy, design maintainers will buy into your idea. You could also do that by designing swags. Swags are like stickers, t-shirts, caps that could be handed off at conferences. Currently now we're having Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest is a month-long project from 1st of October where designers, developers contribute to open source and make 4 pull requests to any community choice. And then while you're doing that, you could also stand a chance to win swags. So you could assist communities by designing stickers, designing t-shirts, designing things that they could give out as gifts for open contributions. Next, you could write a design review for software. In terms of documentation, people write about a new version that is being launched, try to highlight features. This project is being launched by this community and it is an improvement on the previous version. This is 2.1, and these are things to look out for in terms of features. We have a very nice outlook. The colors are nice. Feature allows you to do this, do this. So kind of highlighting what features will help people out there. Will also help promote open source projects. Next, engage in community work. You can engage in community work by speaking at conferences like I'm doing now. Speak about open source design, speak about projects that are being built in open source projects, or promote work that are being done by open source community, or even just a person. You could highlight what a person is doing in the open source community, and that's also a way of engaging in community in open source. Next, start a repository. To start a repository would be a way of contributing to open source. Starting a repository means that, oh, you've used it and it's also a nice project that other people could use, so you start. Then next, test open source. You can test OS softwares by using them, conducting usability tests. You go to the project and say, okay, I want to host a testing session for your project. I want to users to see how you could help to improve. We could help to improve it. Would you give me time of the day? Would you give me approval to do this? Sometimes you could ask, sometimes you could not ask, or you could do that on your own. Be independent about it. That's one thing open in the open source community is that contributors are independent. So you could do it and then present it to the community. And this is what I did during the past week. I took the liberty of asking questions about open source, and this is feedback I got, and I'm very interested in presenting this to you so you can go through it and see how we could use this to improve our software. Next, you could also contribute by donating to projects. Now, as a designer, we're going to try and be a little bit biased and say, okay, contribute or donate to open source projects that promote designers and design in open source projects, because, like I said, it's largely developer centered. Promoting or projecting design issues or design communities too, it's not a bad idea because then it's open to other designers to contribute, and it's really very exciting to be a part of it. Next, we're going to be introducing the open source design team. So this is where I would go and show you what the open source team is. Now, I hope you see my screen. This is open source design community, and I am also a part of it. You will be a part of it. All you have to do is go to opensourcedesign.net. I'll leave in the link to these resources after the talk, and it could be shared on socials and whatever medium that we use to promote this talk. So it's opensourcedesign.net, and be greeted by our lovely landing page. So, with the open source design community, we're a community of designers and that push more open design processes and help improve user experience and interface that across all open source projects or software. So, you could help to promote open source by writing articles. We also run a board where you could find open source related jobs. I know open source, but sometimes you see jobs that maintainers are willing to pay for swags or gratis. So you could also see events and share resources that could also help open source design contributors. So what you have to do is visit the page, visit our forum. So you could be on forum and contribute by introducing yourself on the introductions channel. You can say hi. We're always expecting to see people. We want to talk to you. Errol Fox is our core lead, so she'll be putting you through and adding you to based on your country or your location. And then you can see our job postings where we post open source related jobs for designers. You can see communities that are willing to accept design contributors. So improve UX for passwords. There are so many issues that needs to be fixed by designers. So yeah, so we're waiting for you to come into it. Also, you could go to the free and open source jobs.net, an open source platform where you can find open source jobs or companies that are open source that focus on open source software. So to make your search easy, you go to the right-hand panel, you see the job categories, and then you click on designers. The thing about this is that most of the jobs have been here for quite a while, so judged by their dates. This was posted 15th of October 2021, so this is quite fresh. So you could apply, click on it, you could see full-time, part-time, design related, UX designer needed. So there are various ways that you could apply for open jobs as a designer or project, and contributing to open source kind of gives you an edge over any other person that is applies. You're kind of used to the open source technology or the open source uh, community. So these are ways that you could contribute to source. So I was going to take you through what I do. I contribute to the Indian Open Source Foundation, but currently we're just we're trying to do research now because we're trying to fix a lot of issues. So then we have not really been doing so much, but this is the Indian Open Source Community, and they are building a platform for designers, Indian open source designers or designers in India that want to contribute to open source. So it's not just open to designers, open to developers as well, because we are planning to open a learning platform for people. So that's what we're planning to do. So we have designers contribute to help us to design something you don't see, you see something you don't like here. We're always open and create an issue to tell us about what you think that we fix, and we would really be excited. Another project I want to highlight is the Last Foundation project, Herald, called Herald. It's an exposure notification device, or we're building something to help with COVID related issues. So what we're doing now is just basically UX research, speaking to users, testing products to see how to rate on it, and um, find ways to make it better. So we're open to have you come on board with us. I will be, like I said, I'll be sharing the resource link to have you come join us. Next, I'll take you through the GitHub because I know I mentioned GitHub related things. So I want to take you through it to show you what it looks like. So this is the activity I'm following. So you see issues and things that need to be fixed, people starring, people following, other contributors. It's actually a good way to build network. So I'm going to take you to, I'm just going to, this is one of my projects. So, so these are representations I've starred, contributing to Motic now. Motic is an open source marketing automation software, but writing. I think the maintainer mentioned something about looking for designers, but then we're always open to you, so you could always come on board, join us. They don't be issue for you yet. You could join and then be a part of the community, and then you will see something that you're willing to fix. And we're really excited to have people come join us. So this is one project that I really love. I contributed to this. My open source journey started here with the Women in Technology platform. So there, show you what it looks like. So this is Women in Technology repo. It is hosted by Shika. So I'm going to take you there. Local repositories. She has over 24 repositories. These are what we call repositories, and you could contribute by starring them. Just click on star. You're done. So sorry, I think I have to show this. Okay, I have to. Sorry, I think I
Victor,
have to fix
yeah,
something up. So
there is something. I think we can't hear you. Oh, you're on mute. Okay. Okay, we still can't hear you. Oh, you're on mute. Yeah, in case you are speaking, you're on mute.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying I'm having technical issues. Power just went off, so I'm really sorry about that. But I'm almost done with my talk, so I'll just continue from here. Is that fine?
Okay.
I know you can't
Yeah.
probably see me because it's really dark.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the Women in Technology repository. It is hosted by Shika. So these are where you can find issues that need to be fixed. Now, before you go about fixing open source issues, you should go to read the code of conduct because most communities have a way of contributing. They want designers know about whatever project it is they're doing and how to go about contributing to it. They would also want you to learn about the community guidelines and how they approach issues in their community, how people interact with each other, and other things. So this is really an exciting project. So you could go to the README to read about their code of conduct. So this is their code of conduct. Click on it, you see what is written about this particular project, and then the contributing guideline and other things that have to do with this particular project. So everything is just here. You can see our community guideline, what we do, and where we are so far. This is really an exciting project because we help provide resources for women in technology, on code, everything tech. So it's really exciting to be part of this project. This is where you find issues to fix. So what you do is, for someone who is just starting out as a designer or as a developer or whatever way you want to contribute to this project, the most important aspect is first by looking for issues with good first issue. So you have to look out for this tagline, good first issue, and it has a design tag. So design issues have design tags, good first issue, and it's also an over first issue, which if you contribute to this particular issue and you make a pull request, it gets merged, you've eventually or automatically made a contribution to open source for October 1st. And that's really exciting. So this is an issue here that needs to be fixed. And then we have documentation. We also have other good first issues. So you need to look out for the ones with design taglines. So and up for grabs. So this is it. And when you make your pull request, it comes here. And when it is time to be merged, the maintainer charge would go about merging them. So I did mention start a repository. So this is where you go to start your repository. This is the fork area. So I've already forked this repository, so I don't know. I won't be able to do that anymore. So well, you could do that. Okay, I have to still show you. So okay, since you've already forked my in technology. So for someone who's starting, all you have to do is fork the repository to your current branch, to your branch, and then you make the changes there, and then you push to GitHub. Now, most of the time for designers, we may not need to do more of this on GitHub because contribute to Linux Foundation and we don't use GitHub so much. What we do is we on our Slack channel or the project area. So these projects are open in this community and we use it to we talk about this on the Discord channel. But for communities where the projects are being designers, all you need to do is move your issues or from which one is being. It depends on your community though, but it's really an exciting way to get to know this software and platform. So if you're going to click on what, it means that whatever is going to be done on this particular repository, you're going to get notifications for it. And sometimes it might be notifications you don't need, and sometimes it might be notifications you need. So you need to watch on whatever you're doing. So if you're going to watch on it, then get ready for notifications to kind of like be with you back to back. So that's it for this particular project. Also, I want to highlight a new project I'm working on. We need new designers. Yeah. So there are lots of design issues. Like I will be dropping the link to this. But if you can access your system, that'll be cool. So yeah, we have a lot of help wanted UX UI, help wanted UX UI, help wanted UX UI. So these are issues that you could face wanted designers. So just look out for design related issues. And you can also do this by going up. I'm trying to be fast because I think I'm. You can go by typing in designers. Yeah. So there are different projects hosted by different people. I'm just trying to show you what the hub looks like for designers. So you can see different ways where you contribute to open source. and we're really looking forward to have as many people contribute to open source as possible, because design is really, really, really lacking here in the open source space. And most maintainers want to want new designers to be a part of this project. So it will be really exciting that everybody here on this call say decides to join. Sorry, I'm trying to fix. Decides to join the open source community. So here it is. Finally, what you could do is practice, practice, practice. Um, Practicing everything here, practicing engaging in community, practice contributing to open source projects, practice speaking at conferences, practice testing products. Just keep practicing. And I'm always here to put you through the designers online on Twitter that you could always ask questions, and we are always here to answer. So thank you for coming to the session of Thank You Power is on. So we're back. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So if you have any question, I'm here to reply and give you answers to the best of my knowledge here. So if you ask me a question that I don't know about, we're going to find it out here. Let's
Okay.
go.
Okay, so I have a few questions. So you've talked about the project that you've just highlighted, the one at REST QA or RESTCA. So yeah, we wanted to ask, like, what do you need to get set up?
Yeah.
How can people start contributing to the project? What should they look out for when they're contributing to that particular project?
So REST QA is already is a project that's already kicked off. But what we do right now is to gamify the project, because it is an API testing project for developers, like I said. So what we're currently doing right now is to find a way for it to be more fun for developers, um, to increase the fun while the developers use this platform to make it more fun. So we're trying to like gamify the project. So all you need to do is have a basic understanding of how to use Figma software, because we might be doing some redesign. We might also be doing some research. So if you're interested in research, you can also be involved. And the thing about open source contributions is that you don't really need to know so much about it. You could go about learning it on the project. Like currently, I have no idea of gamification, something I'm interested in, but I do know how to conduct research. And so I believe that part of my skill could be added to whatever it is that we're building, and I can help improve the project as well as learn. So open source projects are, apart from being a contributor or a volunteer, is also a way for you to learn how to do several things and learn something new. So yeah. So if you want to get involved in this project, you could search Oliver Odu on Twitter, or on the open source design link. I think I will search that out and link with you, Velda, so you could do that. So
Okay, sure.
yeah.
Okay. And then something else I'd like to ask is, could you tell us more about the first project you contributed to as a designer? And yeah, tell us your process, how you identified the project, whether you had issues or concerns when you're contributing to the project, and what you learned.
Okay, yeah. So when I first started out as a designer, I got into the open source design community, the one I highlighted here. So all I did was come in, introduce myself, and I met other designers. And then in the job posting, I saw that there was a need for designers in the open source community, Indian open source community. As the first open source community I joined as a designer, and they were looking for designers to, help them build their website, the project that they're about to launch. And it was really interesting because then I was still learning how to use Figma. So you could imagine how challenging that was for me, but I wanted to give it a try. I didn't want to wait till I had already started learning so much to contribute. So I wanted to give this a try. And this was what happened. I mentioned, I don't think it will still be on here because we have exceeded that of our project, but I was able to ask, and then I was added to the Slack channel. And my first contribution to the Indian Open Source Foundation was through wireframes. I suggested, oh, sorry. So I put frames to this project. Sorry, I need to show. I'll show you how I did that. So the open source, um, Indian open source community has a repository just for designers. Most communities do not have that. So currently we do not have any issues, like I said, because we are past the contribution phase. But these were some things that I was able to do. Okay. Okay, so this is quite large, so I'm not sure it's going to be okay. I'm not sure this is going to work. But I did that by contributing via a few people held by adding fonts to the repository. So the font that we've added could be used by other designers who intend to contribute later in future. They could use these same fonts to keep consistency across all platforms. We also did icons, design new logos for them, which were done by other designers on the community or in the community. And then it was really nice project. And then the second project I did was OSCA community. I contributed by buying a few screens. Now this was a really challenging project for me because I had to collaborate with other designers, and one thing I noticed was collaborating. We didn't do much collaboration here on GitHub. We did more of it on the Figma file, and then designers use it from the Slack to kind of design, or sometimes just copy the link and post it as a comment, and then designers, developers contribute from there. Really, you need to make pull requests. It depends on the community. Like I said, it depends on the community where you're contributing to, because most communities would rather use send the link or the SVG or the PDF rather than make pull requests for them. Depends on, sometimes they do that because they feel it's easier for the designers, which I actually agree with. It's easier for the designers. But then if you're judging design contributions in open source based on GitHub blue boxes or green boxes, you would actually think that designers do not do anything because probably you could have like one green checkbox in over a year, but that designer must have contributed severally to several open source projects. But it doesn't really show, because when you make a pull request or you are active on GitHub, there's also always a green checkbox that shows that, okay, this is what you've been doing so far, and this is how many commits you've made this year, this is what you're doing on open source or on GitHub.
All right. So I don't have any other question to ask. I would like to ask the audience if they have any questions. They can post them here so that you can answer them. But so far, one more question before they also ask, like, how's your
Okay, that's
experience so
fine.
far in like contributing to open source? Like, what do you enjoy most when you're contributing to open source as a designer?
I think the collaboration process, it's really exciting to be on calls or meetings. One of the things that designers do is to solve problems, and being in a community or in a meeting or session where your opinion is sought out for is very interesting and motivating, if you ask me, because sometimes they'll say, "Oh, there's a designer here. What do you think as a designer? How can we improve this?" Or sometimes you might not even be asked, but just looking through whatever documents is being displayed and just being a part of it is very interesting. But personally, for me, I love the Sustain UX working group. I think majorly because we're all designers, but then I really like the Sustain UX working group because there we get to talk more in depthly about helping other designers come on board, how to improve user experience in open source generally, and then also how to get new designers to come on board open source. So it's really a very exciting community there, and we talk about these things and make plans to working on it. And it's really exciting. Yeah, collaboration is very nice, and to see a community where I think being part of the community is more of the open source contribution and actually just going about fixing issues, because you just fix here, and you're not actually part of something. So being part of something makes it a better experience for me.
Oh, awesome. So there have the nobody has posted any question, and we are actually an hour in. So yeah, I would like to ask you to give us your final words before we end the meeting.
Okay, so I want to say thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting. I get to do something that I really like, which is advocating for designers and getting designers to come on board on open source. And it's really exciting. So I want to say that as a designer, sometimes explaining something to someone who doesn't see the need for it can be quite challenging. Trying to pitch design to open source communities where design is not really the center or the focus can sometimes be challenging. But if we're able to present our proposals in a very nice way, so if you intend to change the logo of a project, don't just go about asking, "I'm going to change your logo." I think providing them with reasons why, do kind of like a full presentation. It shows how committed you are to that project. It really shows how committed you are to that project. Have a presentation, attend a community meeting at least twice, ask to be added to the mailing list. During community meetings, sometimes they ask, is there any other person that has something to present to the community or to the team? And then you can now say, oh yeah, I have something I would love to present to the community. I've been a member of the community for a while, and I noticed that our logo is not really represent what we're doing here, and I want to do something different. And sometimes it might not be accepted, or they might not change it immediately, depending on how far gone the project is. But it's always be saved and it's always be accounted for you that you made that contribution to open source. Also, it's important to go through community guidelines and code of conduct, visit the templates, research about these communities. Communities like Mozilla, Drupal, these are communities that really take design into consideration. So you could start off by, but then another thing is that these communities are quite large. So I would advise that if you're starting off and you would really want to contribute to open source, start from maybe smaller communities or communities that are not so large, not so big, so you can be heard, because sometimes uh, having so many people and so many professionals could kind of like dull your voice as a new contributor or a new designer. So just look for communities where you can grow and build as well. And then also, if you're going into open source as a contributor, I advise that it is important to be open-minded. Do not lose focus as a designer that you're contributing as a designer. But if you have the opportunity to learn other things, I think it's actually a good way to be part of open source. Because when I started, I didn't used to talk so much like this, but now I'm always jumping on calls to talk about open source, about design. And I write now, which is something I didn't used to do before, but contributing to open source and being in charge of documentation, writing articles. It was really exciting and yeah, helpful process. It really helped my learning. So just be open to learning everything. Volunteer for projects. If it's something you can do, say you can do it and then go about researching how you can do that.
Oh, thank you for that. I'd like to also thank you for joining us for this call and being available at this particular time. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, for taking that time to also come and attend this session. Yeah, thank you from the OSCA Nairobi team to you, Victoria Brown, and to the audience as well. All right. I think we can
Thank
now
you.
feel free to leave the call. We have officially ended the call. Thank you.